warm welcome to all of you who have joined us today for the AIA Live 2021 Environmental Wellness Dialogue. My name is Jessica Chiam, founder and managing director of EcoBusiness, and I'm delighted to be your host and moderator today. Now, the topic for today is an exciting and timely one. I think we all acknowledge now that climate change poses various threats to the health and well-being of humanity. The increased impacts of extreme weather events, rising pollution, infectious diseases, and changes in food security affects both the physical and mental health of billions across Asia. As the issues around climate change gain wider attention, it is also starting to impact people's well-being. A growing stream of studies have looked into how people's emotions and life evaluations depend on environmental factors, including temperature, air pollution, infrastructure, and natural disasters. There is therefore an urgent need to inspire collective action, especially among the youth, who will be our leaders of tomorrow. We thank AIA for organizing this important discussion, and we have very distinguished speakers to share their perspectives with us today. And I'd like to introduce them now. They are Mr. Renzo Guinto, Associate Professor, Practice of Global Public Health, Inaugural Director of the Planetary and Global Health Program at the St. Luke's Medical Center, College of Medicine. We have Mr. Tim Jarvis, an explorer, environmental scientist, founder of the Fork Tree Project, and AIA Vitality Ambassador, Australia. We also have Ms. Zhang Tingjun, co-founder of the Chain Reaction Project. Thank you so much, speakers, for joining us today. I want to move on to a topic around individual action, which all of you have spoken about, and also at the role of youths. And perhaps, Renzo, I could get you to share, because obviously the Philippines is a very young country, and you're facing a lot of climate challenges. And I know that politically as well, the climate policies have been quite controversial, but it is gaining support. I mean, what role do you see the youth playing, and how have you interacted with this demographic?
I think it's time for young people to be given not just a seat, but many seats around the table, because they will be the leaders of tomorrow. And of course, that sounds cliche, but that's really what it is, right? They will be the ones running in a few years' time, in a few decades' time. And I think I'm already seeing signs of that, and positive signs of that. A while ago it was mentioned Greta Thunberg, but you have Greta Thunbergs all around in Asia, in Africa, in many parts of the world, of indigenous young leaders who are also stepping up and calling out big corporates or governments who may not be fulfilling their climate promises.
Thank you so much, Renzo. Very inspiring thoughts for us. Tim, I want to come to you. You mentioned a little bit about the educational aspect of your Fork Tree project. Can I just maybe ask you, what are your thoughts around education to help our youth to become climate literate? Are our education systems doing enough to equip them with the skills to navigate this future that we're seeing?
What we try and do at Fork Tree is, yes, we teach sort of core subjects related to sustainability more generally, but we also try and teach people about systems thinking, how everything is very interconnected, and how you solve complex problems. And of course, nature is a wonderful example to use because it is so incredibly interconnected and so complex, and yet can be destabilized very, very easily by small changes to a huge system like the planetary system. Small changes can have huge repercussions. So we teach that sort of side of things. And we also teach the idea of people standing up to be counted and trying to make a difference. And it doesn't have to be with planting trees, which is, of course, what we do. It's taking some of that thinking back to their everyday lives, talking to their parents, to their peers, to their colleagues, to their teachers, changing the way things are done at school. And, of course, growing them up into sort of adults, if they're kids, who see nature in a very different light to perhaps this generation.
Tingjun, you were going to add your thoughts?
I really do think that part of the responsibility that we have as an adult generation is leading by example. And I think that oftentimes we leave it to schools or educators to teach the children about things like recycling, for example, but we don't actually incorporate enough of those changes personally in our own lives. We may talk about it because we know that's what we're supposed to teach the next generation. But I think that as households, if you're leading one or part of one, I think it's really important that you incorporate those changes at home.
Somebody stumbled on our conversation and they were like, where do I even begin? where can they go and what kind of resources are available to them?
So, what are these key principles of planetary citizenship? Right, systems thinking, acknowledging that what happens here has an effect elsewhere, or what happens in another part of the world has impacts at home. This reevaluation of our relationship with nature. So I think that is an important resource. People our capacity to learn and to act together. I think we need to capitalize on that.
Oh, well, I think Renzo makes a lot of wonderful points there. I mean, I think the biggest resource we have is us. And I think probably the biggest realization people have to make is that there is no us and them. We are the ones who buy the food. We are the ones who travel. We are the ones who vote in the governments we have. We are the ones who invest our money in the organizations whose behavior we don't like. I mean, there really is no us and them. And even when government decides to make a judgment, even if it's at a national level or at an international dialogue like the climate change talks and in Paris and subsequent ones, at the end of the day, all of the policy levers that get put into place and the taxes and the laws really are designed to change the behavior of us. And I think coming to the realization that it's really down to you and me to be the ones who make a difference at a personal level, getting behind a project local to you, voting the right way, making choices about your food that have benefits for both the environment and your health, thinking about how you travel around, thinking about how you live, influencing others around you. I think that's a big, big realization.
Oftentimes I think the obstacles to doing something is whether or not it's going to be fun, whether or not you've got friends where a social group that makes that activity of whether you're planting a tree or picking garbage off the beach. I think sometimes the goal may be lofty, but I think it's always important to surround yourself with like-minded individuals or to bring friends into it or family members, make it fun, right? And I think part of it is taking a chance. When you go online and you search for something, when you talk about resources, you can have 1,000 things that come up. Resource 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups, like millions of groups. Which one do you join? I think it's important not to get stuck at that phase, and then have that inertia to get beyond it.
And knowing that we all need to work together to combat the effects of climate change, what is the one thing that all of us can do?
Regardless of your profession or your discipline or the craft that you have a role to play in improving the health of our people, at the same time improving the health of our planet.
I would say that talking about it is great, but you shouldn't just talk about it. I would say pick one thing and then just do it. You don't have to be Captain Planet and save the whole world, but you pick one thing and do that for like the next 30 days, and then pick the next thing and do it for 30 days, and see how that goes. So just to start.
If you don't like it, change it and be the one to lead it. That's what I would say. It is down to each one of us to make a difference. And there's plenty within our control that enable us to be the ones who make that change.
Thank you very much. I think on that note, I would like to thank all our speakers for such an insightful and exciting discussion. You've been listening to the AIA 2021 Environmental Wellness Dialogue, and with me is Mr. Renzo Guinto, Mr. Tim Jarvis, and Ms. Zhang Tingjun. Thank you so much, speakers. I'm really glad to have met all of you and had this chat, and I hope to stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.